Round of applause. Please give it up from Binghamton, New York, Emily Childress.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks again, David. Geesh, again? I've been spending so much time with the Canadian this past month. I advocate for peer support, but a lot of white men in power don't believe in that. Their definition of peer support is voting for each other in the local elections. Steve, you make 6 figures a year. That makes you a great candidate for county judge. Recently, I started a new job that changed my work from a regional focus to a statewide focus. Now, instead of pissing off people only in the southern tier, I can piss people off across the state. When I announced I was leaving my previous position, a lot of rich white men in my area let out a sigh of relief. They thought they were done hearing from me. Then they learned that I was moving to a statewide advocacy position. They activated the Fragile Masculinity Support Group, formerly known as the Mar-a-Lago Country Club. Support group for fragile men? But I thought they didn't believe in peer support. Welcome to the group, all. First, we would like to commend Mark for taking the trash out after his wife asked him to for the 33rd time. Maybe next week you'll stop to ask for directions. Fragile masculinity. They have their own reason for following social distancing besides COVID. No, Jim, stay away, closer than 6 feet, and they might think that we're gay. The only thing worse than them thinking we're gay is if they think we voted for Hillary. When I was a teenager, I was dealing with some depression, anxiety, and probably some PTSD. My parents thought I was just a moody teenager. I can really see the symptoms listed under moody teenager in the DSM-5. Listening to NSYNC's Bye 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 on repeat. Check. 1 shower a week. Check. Living on Ritz crackers and Dr. Pepper. Check. Our insurance denied all of my therapy claims. I'm sorry, we'll only cover you if she's living on Twinkies and vodka. Now, what they don't tell you about being a moody teenager is that for many of us, it's not just a stage in something we grow out of. I still live with depression and anxiety, but now instead of mom and dad, I call them husband and daughter. Being the youngest of 5 girls, my parents were just tired and done raising kids by the time I came along. They wanted me to grow up and be gone. I don't know why they got so upset when I was drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes in 5th grade. At least I was smoking Virginia Slims and not the reefer. Yet. Youngest of 5 girls, folks. That means 4 older sisters. They were all in charge of caring for me when we were younger. However, they still haven't quite gotten out of that habit. For example, this past summer on our family vacation, 2 of my sisters knocked over a chair racing to cut up my chicken nuggets for me. I read once that having dreads is like having a journal of the places you've been, life events. So for example, here, this is where I joined the NIAPR's board of directors. Here, that's where I started my job at MAHEP. And here, oh wait, that's just a hemp seed.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry if that joke was a little disjointed. Thank you, everyone.
All right, give it up for Emily Childress. Your next comic, please welcome Colleen Sheehan.
Hey, Colleen! Thank you, David. It's great to be here. See everybody. One of my recovery tools is laughter yoga. It's based on unconditional laughter. You laugh for no reason at all. Please practice laughter yoga throughout my set. I live in Woodstock, New York. I went to a Woodstock Anonymous.
Technical difficulties.
Yes.
No problem.
See what happens when you don't work? So I went to a Woodstock Anonymous birthday party last night. Those folks make a great martini. Each glass was laced with a microdose of LSD. The food was of gourmet status, organic and vegan. It was marijuana. The second course was munchies, blacklight posters, and a Grateful Dead soundtrack. I was seeking my higher power. Instead, I found the power of getting high. Get depressed, lack energy, no focus, no relief. I get depressed, lack energy, no focus, no relief from meds. So I decided I'd try alternative medicine. I stood outside hugging the only tree in an empty field. It was during a lightning storm. One lightning strike was more effective than 100 years of
Oh, God.
Finally, my search was over. I met the Holy Trinity, Harvey the Father, Len the Son, and Eileen, the Holy Spirit. He's everywhere. A while back, I was an educator with NIAPers. I educated people about cultural competency, like the difference between Mets and Yankees fans. Sometimes I would present to the executives of the agencies. You know how they always tell you to picture your audience naked? Oh. It was my fear. I would picture them dressed as transsexuals from the Rocky Horror Show with the big red lipstick lips. That put me in my comfort zone. Yeah, the key to cultural competency is understanding our biases. The toughest group to reach was people who thought they had a label of normal. Doctors, psychiatrists, executives, you know, white men with all the keys and cash. Years ago, I used to roller skate on the boardwalk. Maneuvering the crowd on the boardwalk was tough for me. And the people that I ran over never knew what hit them. Oops. Homelessness, yeah. There's no place to get a hot shower. If I got hard up, the arresting officer would be glad to oblige. That's right. To get a hot shower, I had to get arrested. The average cost of my shower was $1 million. When I was in jail, we gathered for the music hour. Between the belches, the armpit fart, and the other bodily sounds, we could play Jailhouse Rock. It was tough finding a place to sleep where the police officers would not disturb you. Unfortunately, the patio at the Museum of Modern Art did not supply mattresses and sleeping bags. And I couldn't turn the lights out at night. I had to tell my therapist that I was going to stop seeing him. My time was being taken up by my YouTube guru. I got a lot of good advice from Johnny Knoxville of the Jackass Club. I used to self-medicate using marijuana and stuff that I got from my dealer. Now I get it delivered from the pharmacy. But the stuff my dealer had was way better, and it also costs less. Food waste is a serious issue in America. A bunch of us used to eat out of dumpsters. We created a website called the Rootin' Tootin' Dumpster Divers of America that had the locations of the cleanest dumpsters and the finest food. The food we collected was so good, we started our own restaurant. After 3 months, we put the Cheesecake Factory out of business. Our special dish, ratatouille with real free-range rat. Oh. I was a first peer specialist in Buffalo. I was able to handle the difficult situations, like the morning that the therapists were traumatized. Krispy Kreme ran out of jelly donuts. I love moving to the Hudson Valley. Mountain views, lovely gardens, great artists and musicians, and that was in the psychiatric hospital. Harvey is a great guy. Every year at the conference, if someone doesn't have a ride home, he'll drive them. But it takes weeks to get to home. And those hotels cost a fortune. Just 3 days at the Waikiki Beach Motel 6 is the equivalent of the entire NIAPR's budget. Thank you, and thank you for practicing laughter yoga.
All right, folks, your next comic. Please welcome Hakeem Furious.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing out there?
Good.
Great.
Good. It's nice to hear people and see people. I'm glad to finally being able to do stand-up again and finding a way, because what I miss most is watching the audience's faces as I get called on the stage. Because usually when they hear the name Hakeem Furious, they're expecting a brother from the Nation of Islam mixed with a Mortal Kombat character. I'd be on stage like, Malcolm X would be here today if it wasn't for finish him. I like to do that joke as a good gauge to find out who will laugh at dead Malcolm X jokes and who won't. It's my favorite indicator. A lot of people ask me, why'd you choose to start doing stand-up and getting into stand-up? And I just had to be completely transparent with them all that I am in the game for a new set of teeth. I'm trying to run. You feel me? I'm trying to get some Chris Rocks, some Denzel dentures. I recently had a daughter, and it's kind of interesting because I'm a millennial and her mother is a Gen Zer. So when a millennial and a Gen Zer have a baby, they get a baby Zoom. I've been trying to explain to people why multicultural competency is important, and most of the time it's like when I go to conferences, a lot of people come up to me and I just have to clarify that I am not Bob Marley's son, or grandson. I know he has 23 of them, but I'm not any of them. Another thing about multicultural competency is it's been weird to watch how work relations go over during Zoom. For instance, I have this coworker named Brian, and over the pandemic, he just had time. He had time to learn new words of the African continuum. So one day he was like, Ubuntu, Hakeem, Ubuntu. Don't you know what Ubuntu means? It means unity. And I said, what I'm Ubuntu do is log out and take a sick day. I work for a peer-led nonprofit, and we're rather successful. I didn't know we were out here fighting stereotypes, because most people thought that all peer-led organizations were non-profitable. Like I said, we're fairly successful. We just do things peer-led. So, for example, everyone is understanding if you take a mental health day.
Stop for a second, Hakeem. Hey, you guys, someone back there, someone has their needs to mute because they've got like some sort of conversation going on. So the rest of you unmute. Please stay unmuted. But yeah, everyone else or whoever's got that thing going on should just mute themselves. But we still want to hear you laugh and see you laugh. So don't forget to unmute. And let's get back to Hakeem. Give Hakeem another.
Hakeem.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Hakeem.
Yeah. This commercial was brought to you by but like I said, our organization, we're fairly successful. We just do things peer led. So everyone is understanding if you take a mental health day, anytime there's a conflict, we won't hesitate to do an emotional emancipation circle. And then every day is pajama day. So it is a good thing. Also, part of being in a peer-led organization is everybody is committed to working on their recovery. Sometimes I get a little lazy with mine, and that's why I'm glad I get peer support from my coworkers. For example, one of my coworkers, he likes to go to different AA meetings for his peer support. And me personally, I prefer AABA, and that's AA by association. He just calls me after each meeting and tells me the key points of what he's learned. Feels great. I'm doing the work. Speaking of recovery, sometimes I've been weaning off of self-medicating, and so I've been trying to pick up new hobbies, and one of those new hobbies is doing crossword puzzles. And there was this question, it was like, what is a 5-letter word for laced? And my first thought was drugs. Turned out to be shoes. And then that's my set, everyone. My name is Hakeem Furious. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all the things. And I work with Poetry for Personal Power. So check us out.
Yes, check it out. Please welcome Wiletta Williams.
Yeah. Oh, Wiletta.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing today? I'm so happy to be here. Oh, gosh. I don't know if any of you know that, but I'm a middle child. And as a middle child, I always got less attention. As a matter of fact, my parents didn't even know I was there till I was 14. And then they were like, what did you say your name was? My mother was always worried about my sister because she had to take the subway to work. And I was jealous until I saw my mother give my sister an ice pick to protect herself.
Oh my God.
She could not only stab you, but she could make you the perfect pina colada. Perhaps not in that order. I missed out on smoking and drinking, but I did that later in life after I had kids. I waited until my 30s and 40s to start drinking and gambling. I played the slot machines, and the object of the slot machines is to keep you engaged. I was so naive. I thought you only did that before you got married. But I went to the casino so much, they sent me birthday cards. And the birthday cards, they sent me $125 one time for my birthday. And I was like, oh my God, wow. And that was so nice until I realized the $125 cost me $15,000. Talk about a crappy rate of exchange. I realized I had issues when I gambled away my house, my car, the neighbor's kid. And the problem with that, he was like 35 years old at the time. Like really bad. But when I ran out of money in my bank account, and money, he would say, show me some ID. And I would be like, here you go, here's the ID. And they'd be like, this is not you, Beyonce. And I had to tell the teller how he could put a ring on it. You can put a ring on it. You can put a ring on it. If you don't like it, you can put a ring on it. It's all laughs and giggles. You don't know. As part of my recovery, I had mental health Mondays. I would go see my regular therapist in the morning in Manhattan. And then in the afternoon, I would see my gambling therapist. And in the evening, I would decide which casino to go to. Those therapists made me so nervous. I needed a way to wind down at the end of the day. And what better way than by losing a couple $1,000? The therapists were covered by my insurance. I wish I could get the billing code for the gambling. You know, and hopefully to reduce my anxiety, the copay would be small. Finally, the gambling therapist said to me one day, you need to get to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting. And I'm like, you mean they could teach me how to gamble better? That wasn't the answer. But I want to tell you, there are many different types of gambling. One of them is called marriage. And a lot of people gamble on those scratch-offs. You can tell the people who gamble with the scratch-offs because they have all that silver stuff on their fingertips. The closest thing they're ever going to get to any real kind of money. A lot of people also gamble on horses. Can you imagine what they have on their fingertips? Bingo and raffles are also gambling. Every time someone offers me one of those little tickets, I give it to someone else. And when they win, I get to choke the crap out of them. The way I win. Anyway, I work for Niagara's as a peer bridger. And one day, you know, I was talking to a peer and I said, I'm just like you. I take medicine just like you. I go to the doctor just like you. And he's like, yo, you get a check just like me? I can tell you guys, I don't get a check anymore because of Niagara's job, and that was much more important than a check. But as part of being a peer bridger, I help people get out of the hospital. And the best way to do that is to dress like an orderly and or I could tell them to hide in the dirty laundry. They look pretty weird. They look really, really weird walking around with underwear on their head. I also help them get discharge papers forged, but it doesn't really work because you're not supposed to have your papers signed by Dr. Seuss. But with my help, they're out of there way before the 72-hour hold is up and before the insurance even knows they've been there. With 10 tuna fish sandwiches in their pocket and a can of ginger ale. That's my time.
Yes, Wiletta Williams. Folks, your next comic. Please welcome Ann Kasper.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ann Kasper, live from I'm in Portland. I'm a peer who suffers from mental health systems and AFS, advocacy fatigue syndrome. Anyone else have that? Chronic in my family. I'm an advocate, but a lot of state officials really don't seem to want to hear what I have to say. When I speak at meetings, they roll their eyes. It's the most exercise I've had in years. The other form of exercise they get is running down the hall away from me when they see me at the courthouse. They tell me they'd rather be locked up than listen to what I have to say. I'm speaking North American English, yet most of them look at me like I'm speaking a language from outer space, because I use words like self-determination, peer respites, retirement funds for peers. Their faces look like I'm speaking Klingon. When they hear me say Samsa, they think it's a tuna sandwich you get at Subway. They start drooling and licking their tongues out, just like we do when we get over-medicated. I'm left out of official committee fact-finding missions. You can tell someone doesn't want you along when they leave you in the straitjacket in City Hall in that broom closet with that funny tasting orange juice. I'm on the local Public Safety Coordinating Council subcommittee, Lipstick, which originally I thought was a beauty product by L'Oreal. I've been on the committee for 14 years with DAs, judges, police chiefs, and they still do not include me in emails or those secret subcommittees. I've learned how to become a spy. James Bond didn't have it this hard. I bugged their offices. I learned coding to hack into their emails, and I bribed their admin staff with free psych meds, which is a lot of work considering most advocates just do public information requests. They're kind of like the Politburo because they have secret handshakes, speak a different language, and refer to each other as comrade. If we did that here, we'd be here courtesy of Comrade Rosenthal, Comrade Brown, Comrade Mathai. Oops, I forgot some comrades, and that's not good to do in New York, is it? So, some I didn't mention, like Rita Kranais, Mariam Hasmussen, and Varsha Kamat, started a re-education committee at APS to send me to Siberia, AKA Westchester Hospital. Apparently there, I get to meet Comrade Cuomo, and I hear he's sharing a room with Comrade Trump. But they're not doing so well because Melania is their psychiatrist. Oh. Mariam Hasmussen has been tasked with re-educating Comrade Trump and Comrade Cuomo. They're becoming peer support specialists and will work for Neapolis. Instead of being assigned to Leningrad, like the good comrades, they're being assigned to Len Stathamgrad. Comrade Rosenthal has now embraced capitalism, and he uses Harvey dollars.
Yeah. In a moment.
What they really long for are the Mariam and Celia hundreds.
Nice.
They're not allowed to get the Rita Kranais cryptocurrency secretly mined by Steve Michio. Those fronts as peer respites, they're not really peer respites. He's just mining cryptocurrency. So they can't get their cryptocurrency until they pass their 2,000 hours and the New York peer certification. Everybody wants the currency that's worth more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
That's good.
Another reason I can't get into the official secret meetings is that I can't buy their designer clothing they wear. It's a dead giveaway when I walk into the meeting wearing my green scrubs from the fashion bin at Bellevue Hospital. Especially with those hospital socks that just don't match anything. Do you have a collection of those too? If you do, let's trade after the show. I've got to get ready for Met Gala next year. So to find out more government information, I've had to develop my psychic abilities as well. I'm very good at using my crystal ball to get the minutes from the latest meetings for future meetings too. For the February 2023 meeting run by Ann Sullivan and Senator Booker, you can pay me in, guess what, Harvey dollars. When I speak at meetings, officials have reactions to indicate they do not agree or just simply, what? award. In other words, I help people get the self-care they need. Sleep. I hope I didn't trigger that kind of self-care in you, but I'll find out because I've hacked into the Nappers conference evaluations. In other words, it won't matter what you write because I'm going to prescribe my own desired outcome.
Now, folks, your last comic, he has just been awarded the Jason Brody Faith and Fellowship Award for kindness. And also he's got a community that he wants you to be part of, and he will put it in chat. So take a look at that. And please welcome Mr. Dan Frey.
Hey.
Woo, Dan. Dan.
Well, it's about time, Mr. David Granirer, Mr. Grandeur, David Grandmarnier, Mr. Granulated Sugar, 1,000 grand, David Granirer, a granulocytosis. Thank you, Mr. Grand Rapids. Thank you, Mr. Grandiosity. Mr. Grandiosity. Doesn't sound like a name. That sounds like a diagnosis, which is exactly the diagnosis you need for stand-up comedy. Pause for laughs. Okay. All right, so mental health comedy has to be clean, nothing dirty whatsoever. Okay, nothing dirty whatsoever. Here goes. When I was in the hospital, I took a shower with soap and water. I washed my hands too. When I got home, I washed my clothes with detergent and the dishes with dish soap. That's what we call ADLs. Yay, clean comedy. Did I mention that I brushed my teeth with toothpaste and gargled with mouthwash? Or I could steal a clean joke. Like, why did the doctor's hands turn into devils? He was using hand satanizer. Or he used the off-brand scrub with Beelzebubbles. I'm a voice hearer who is diagnosed with schizophrenia. Did you know that the voices we hear are highly influenced by our culture? While in the US, voices are often angry and malicious. In other parts of the world, voices are playful and friendly. Sometimes I wish I lived in Jamaica. Then my voices would be holding hands and singing, "Don't worry, because every little thing is gonna be all right." The Jamaican voices would be your main support system. On a more serious note, folks, seems like our community is divided in many ways. One way is between the clinical model of mental health supporters from those with an alternative, trauma-based, sometimes spiritual perspective. So one camp will call you a schizophrenic, while the other will call you a mystic. Maybe I'm ill with magical powers. Maybe I can make antipsychotic pills that cause muscle gain rather than weight gain. And when I'm through, all schizophrenics will become champion bodybuilders. In some peer organizations, turnover is unbelievable. 5 minutes after my peer specialist left, a clown car pulled up. It was like 17 guys pouring out, and they were all my new peer specialists for the rest of the week. Next week, they're going to send me a whole busload. Like I said, in some peer organizations, turnover is unbelievable. After my third peer specialist left, the director said, "I'm sorry, but from now on, you're going to have to be your own peer specialist." Great. Great. Now I can get paid for talking to myself. For all these years, I've been doing it for free. The problem is that the pay they get is not a living wage. You know your pay is not a living wage when at the end of the month you give $1 to a homeless person who returns it and says, "No, man, I can see you need this more than me." The pay is not a living wage at the end of the month when you go to a Chinese restaurant and all you can afford is a glass of water and half an egg roll. And the cashier says, "You can't order half an egg roll." and you ask them to put the other half on layaway. Back in my 20s, I was a spokesperson for the drug that helped silence my voices. I went to a huge pharmaceutical convention where they played a video of me saying stuff like, thanks to your drug, I met a girl yesterday and I'm ready to marry. And look at me, I can drop clothes off at the cleaners. And you should see me brush my teeth once a month. They even took footage of me swallowing their pill. Too bad it was a hit of ecstasy, which brought new energy to the conversation. They were interested in me until I relapsed. They said, sorry, dude, we don't do sick people, baby. Apparently, a video of a patient hugging trees and tongue-kissing stray dogs was not a great way to motivate their sales reps. But honestly, those dogs were hot. I relapsed because I had a psychiatrist who said, you're doing so well, you should consider a medication holiday. And I'm like, that's right, I never had schizophrenia. Turned out we were both wrong. So I guess I'll go back to hugging trees, tongue-kissing stray dogs while my voice is saying, don't worry, everything's gonna be all right. Oh my God, you like me, you really like me. I also do funerals, wakes, and 9/11 ceremonies.
Give it up for Mr. Dan Frey.
Yeah. Way to go, Dan.
Wow.
Very good. Very nice, Dan.
So before we wrap up, and I say this every year, and I'm going to just continue to say it until it becomes a reality, but I have a vision of where we need to be as a society. That vision is people are working together in a workplace. We are so far away from this. Someone comes in with a headache and people go, oh, you know, that's fine. Everyone can handle it. Would you like a tea, aspirin, sit down? Someone needs to be able to come to that exact same workplace and go, you know something? My voices are a bit loud. I'm on the edge of a panic attack, and it needs to be greeted exactly the same way. No big deal. Would you like tea, aspirin, sit down, take the afternoon off? And the gap between where we are and where we need to be, that's all where the prejudice and the stigma and the discrimination that we are all collectively trying to educate people about. When I was first hospitalized in the late 70s, nobody talked about anything that had to do with mental health or mental illness, but the silence said it all. The silence said, do not speak of this to anyone. And when I left that psych ward, I was broken. I felt like I would never be whole. I remember I was so ashamed of myself. I would see people walking towards me down the street that I knew previous to being hospitalized, and I would run around the block to hide from them. I did not want to be seen. I would say over and over and over in my head, I am nothing. I am nobody. I am invisible. And that's how I lived for almost 20 years. I went from being one of those really loud, obnoxious, annoying class clowns to vanishing for 2 decades. And now I fast forward to today, and I think what a difference it would have made in my life to see folks like you just saw doing comedy. I would have thought, wow, so this is proof that recovery is possible. I've just seen it here on this screen. And if these folks can do something amazing like that, so can I. I might not be into comedy, but I can do something else that's equally amazing. So we are on the web at standupformentalhealth.com. There are dozens of videos of comics I've trained all across North America and Australia, including some Niapa's folks. So it's a great resource when you want to laugh. If you know someone that's going through a rough time, tell them you may feel right now like you may never get better, because that's the way it feels. Check out this website, look at what's possible. And if they can do something like that, so can you. And by the way, take a look at our videos. I mean, we'll put up a cool video. It'll get like 12 hits. And then it's so discouraging when at the same time, a video like cat riding vacuum cleaner gets like 4 million hits. Actually, our cat is depressed. We had to put her on kitty antidepressants. The signs were obvious. We came home one morning, went down one morning, and she had written a suicide note in the litter box. We couldn't read it because it all clumped together. But let's give all the comics another round of applause. Big round of applause. You guys were awesome. You were hilarious. Just wonderful. And let's give Harvey and Larry and Len and Robert and all the Niapara staff a big round of applause. Thank you so much. You folks are the greatest. And, you know, people often ask, because I've been doing this for a long time, they say, well, David, what kind of a legacy do you want to leave? And I'm like, legacy? That sounds so pompous. It's like, you know, what? They're going to put statues of me all over the place. And then, of course, in 100 years, they'll be pulling down the statues saying that I ran a joke sweatshop. They'll be like, you only paid us $2 a joke. I sent him a joke that wasn't funny, and he deducted half my paycheck. And you know how in you know the statues of those people, you know, they have them on horseback charging into battle with swords drawn. My statue would be me wearing psych hospital pajamas, cutting out pictures from a magazine with safety scissors. Or being held down by 5 orderlies while one sticks a needle in my ass. Anyhow, folks, thank you so much. You've been awesome. Comics, you know, we're going to do a little debrief. You've all got the debrief link. Have a great conference.
Thank
and
you.
We'll see you next year.
Great job.
I just want to say, David, and all of you did a great job. It's a difficult format, and you did a great job. And I hope you, when we get back to Villa Roma,
yes,
you come and do some of that again.